I was out there for 60 days or 500 miles. What I was attempting to do was the world's first coast-to-coast ski crossing of Antarctica with a sled that initially weighed 420 pounds.
His name is Akshay. He wrote the book Fearvana. The Dalai Lama wrote the foreword for his book.
I defined Fearvana as the bliss that results from engaging our fears to pursue our own worthy struggle.
Even if we're unhappy in the current level that we're in, there's certainty in that level. But then there's the unknown, where we don't know. We have to start over again.
There's one thing you take from this.
All right, so welcome to another episode of the Behind Gym Doors podcast. My name is Mike Arce, and today I'm here with an amazing guest. His name is Akshay. He wrote the book Fearvana, and this has been a really interesting book. It's been a favorite of mine, and I've actually created content based on some of this because what you said in some of these, I just couldn't think of how to articulate it. Like you articulated so many of my thoughts that would take me maybe 10 minutes to say. You found a way to say it in like a line. And I was like, man, it's exactly what I've been wanting to say. It's been exactly what I've been wanting to articulate. So
It's awesome to hear.
Yeah, just really, really cool concepts. And so Akshay is here in Arizona with me. And so I am super excited to talk with you, author of Fearvana, and let's dive in. Are you ready?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, brother.
Absolutely. For everyone that's watching, listening right now, I'm going to say it again. The Dalai Lama wrote the foreword for his book. I don't know if you guys know, the Dalai Lama is kind of a big deal. And I didn't even think he reads books. I thought he just absorbs information from the earth and light. And somehow I guess he sits down and has a coffee and reads as well, which is interesting to me. So let's dive in. First, what made you want to write this book? Because there's a ton of research that you did back here. It's not like your thoughts. There's a lot of evidence and data and stats support these claims and these ideas. So what made you want to write this book?
The journey to the concept, the ethos of Fearvana, and then writing the book, it began after I came back from the war in Iraq. So I was in the Marines. I did 6 years in the Marines, one tour in Iraq. After coming back, I struggled a lot with PTSD, depression, heavy drinking. I was at a point in my life drinking a bottle of vodka a day. One morning after 5 days of binge drinking, I woke up and I was seconds away from slitting my own wrists. And that rock bottom moment began this climb out of the abyss. And it started going down this rabbit hole of researching neuroscience, psychology, spirituality, delving deeper within myself to confront my own demons from the war, reframing my understanding ultimately of trauma, suffering, and fear, which is what led me to this ethos. The fundamental ethos of the book and of the concept is to combat the demonization of fear and ultimately anything related to fear. So we often view fear, stress, anxiety, suffering, pain as bad. These are bad emotions, bad experiences. And as I started researching myself to heal myself from these demons I had wrestled with from the war, it led me to the realization that even, for example, with trauma, post-traumatic stress does not mean post-traumatic stress disorder. I came back from the war, I struggled with survivor's guilt. I was hypervigilant of loud noises. I struggled with crowds. And I was told these were symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. But I spent 7 months in a war zone where loud noises meant death. Being hypervigilant of loud noises was a normal human response. It wasn't a disorder. By ascribing the label disorder to it, it reframes my identity around it, and it sends me deeper into the pit. So by accepting the is-ness of the human experience, whether it be fear, stress, anxiety, whatever it may be, we can then regain the power and the agency to control what we do with our emotions and our experiences, to realize that they're not bad, they're not good, they just are, and we can do what we want with them.
Yeah. One of the things that you said it early on in the book too, you talked about how it's your best friend.
Yeah.
And I read this one section probably a week before I needed it really, really bad. My daughter, and I posted about this on Instagram, my daughter was asked by the church to go up and do a little speech. And it wasn't long. It was probably 30 seconds, right? Just go up and read something. And she's excited about it. She's really wanted to contribute. She's super pumped. And then when we get to the church and she's there and she's minutes away from going up, you can tell she's nervous. And so I call her over and I'm like, hey, what's going on? She's like, I'm scared. And I was like, yeah, I know, I'd be too. She was like, you would be? I was like, yeah, you're going to speak in front of all these people? That's scary. And she's like, yeah. And I go, but that's what makes you brave. She's like, really? I was like, yeah, you wouldn't be brave if you weren't afraid.
That's awesome.
It would just, you would just be doing it. But you're doing something that pretty much every kid would be afraid to do.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm impressed. And she goes, really? And I go, yeah. And I give her a fist bump. She gives me a fist bump. And she goes up there, and she was probably still afraid, but she had done it. And when she came out, she had this huge smile. She felt great about it. I think I would have served her worse if I would have said, what are you afraid of? Or there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
Or you'd be fine. Because in her head, she's like, dude, I'm scared. Like, what do you mean? Like, don't tell me how I feel.
No, exactly.
Because I know when I've been afraid and people have been like, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen? It's like, everything I've just been thinking about up until this moment. And more that I haven't thought of. So I thought it was so great. It was so timely. And I'm like,
so
I'm
happy to hear
appreciative I read it right before that. Like,
That's
I knew
awesome.
to use it right away.
Yeah,
So
I
it was
love
great.
that. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see parents make. And again, you don't mean to, right? It's coming from a place of love,
Sure.
but they'll say, don't be scared, don't stress out, don't worry. And you're just saying, don't feel what you feel.
Because it's a bad feeling.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I love that you did that, and I'm glad the book inspired that. That's awesome.
One of the things that you had talked about was the analogy of the human brain and the animal brain, and it was like the rider and the elephant.
Yeah.
Can you dive into that?
Sure. To give context, the animal brain is the limbic system. So it's what they otherwise call the reptilian brain. So this is the subconscious. It responds to external stimuli instantly. Somebody comes into this room right now with a gun, I'm going to feel fear.
Right.
That's the animal brain. The human brain, what I refer to in the book as the human brain, is the prefrontal cortex. So that's the part of the brain related to our ability to have consciousness, awareness, to rise above what is and to be meta-aware of ourselves. So the elephant and the rider concept is not something I came up with. I believe it was Jonathan Haidt, the author. I cannot remember the book for the life of me right now. But he came up with the concept of the elephant and the rider. That the rider is our human brain. The elephant is the animal brain. So if the elephant wants to go this way and the rider wants to go this way, who do you think is going to win that battle?
Elephant.
The elephant, right? Any day of the week. So the point is, our subconscious, that animal brain, is far more powerful. It responds quicker to external stimuli. It guides us. Most of us live our entire lives based on the animal brain, and we are slaves to it. To become a master, you have to practice rising above what is to create what you want to be. Because you also got to look at it from the context of what the brain is designed to do. Its number one mechanism is to keep us alive. That's all it cares about. Long-term success is not something it cares about. Our brain is still designed for a time when we were like cavemen and cave women.
Yeah. Accumulating unnecessary amounts of money is not on its game plan.
Exactly. That's why by any measure of success, whether you define it financially, physically, spiritually, mentally, whatever, it's rare. Because you have to transcend and combat survival mechanisms that are not designed for this world, that are designed for survival, in order to think long-term to achieve the results we want. Right. And that requires training the human brain to ultimately rewire the animal brain. Because the core ethos, which I talk about in there, is the principle of neuroplasticity. The brain can change itself. When you recognize that, like the fundamental guiding belief for all other beliefs is that we can't change. If you don't believe that, there's nothing that's going to work.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's logical that we can't change, because if there's anything that's trauma, it's you changed. How many of you guys feel like you are very different than the person you were 10 years ago? Like, you'd be like, oh yeah, that was a whole different person. Like, I'm glad I'm not that person anymore. Or 20 years ago, right? So, I mean, that just right there proves it. It's just now, how do we intentionally do it at a higher, more accelerated rate in the direction that we want to do it?
And you consciously train that. So, I mean, at a very basic level, how do habits change? You use conscious effort to change the subconscious until that subconscious mechanism becomes a habit, and then so on and so forth. There's a cyclical pattern of the will and the habits that coexist to ultimately keep up-leveling. Because every time you hit a new normal, in order to up-level once again, you'll have to re-engage the will, do something hard, and then until that becomes normal, and so on and so forth.
You know, one of the things Laurel and I were talking about were the idea. Laurel's my business partner right there, good friend of mine too. So I say that more because she's been a friend of mine for a lot longer than she's been my business partner. But one of the things we talked about was, you know, sometimes even if we're unhappy in the current level that we're in, there's certainty in that level. We at least know what we're going to get.
Yeah.
Even if we're not exactly happy there, we know what we're going to get. And we know that we're good here. We know how to get like a feedback loop in here. But then there's the unknown, where we don't know. We have to start over again. Now we suck again.
Yep.
It's the next level. Every level has a new devil, right? So it's like, oh, now I suck here.
Yeah.
And so we'd rather be a king in Peasantville than to be a peasant in like this
Yeah.
kingdom, right? And so that, how does one do that? Like, obviously you got the rider. The rider's like, hey man, look, we don't know what's going to happen out there. I get it. That's also where like success is. We know that's where we want to be. But at the end of the day, like it could go really, really wrong.
Yeah.
Animals saying, let's just stay here. Look, people think we're really smart here. Let's just stay here where everybody already thinks we're really good and smart.
Yeah.
How do you break through that? What are some of the things that one can do to like make it like a more easy switch over time?
A very valuable virtue to train is the muscle of curiosity, because the fear of the unknown is a very normal fear. And that's why, to your point, the devil you know is greater than the devil you don't, because we'll stay in a discomfort because, again, the brain doesn't care if you're unhappy. It cares that you're alive. The unknown presents a threat to your life. Even if this reality sucks, it's a known suck.
Yeah.
So it's not going to kill you, right? So that's why the unknown is so scary. But you have to train that mechanism. Like anything, you can train it and you can build it. To your point, when you said to your daughter, you can't have courage without fear. So you have to practice mastering yourself in the experience of fear. And I wasn't like the person I am today doing these things in Antarctica overnight, right? I used to be scared of Ferris wheels when I was a kid, scared of heights, scared of tight spaces, scared of open spaces, scared of open water, all of it. And then after joining the Marines, I learned that when you push yourself, because Marine Corps training was very hard, and when you suffer, you find something in the human spirit to transcend that suffering. And the transcendence was what I became hooked to. So I started rock climbing, mountain climbing, cave diving. Every fear I had, I systematically confronted it. And it was scary to this day. Just 2 days ago, I was speaking in Austin in front of a large room, and I was still nervous. But I like that feeling.
Yeah.
And in fact, if I don't feel nervous before a talk, I kind of engage it.
Well, I think one of the things you said in the book was that anxiety, or like the feeling of fear and just excitement, they come from the same, like,
two
how
sides
do
of
you
the same coin.
delineate?
It's just a construct you choose to ascribe to that experience. You can choose to frame it as excitement or as fear. If you ascribe excitement to it, it's going to change how you relate to it, because words have power. They shape our experience of reality. So you want to train yourself by putting yourself in situations that demand fear, and be curious. What is out there? And view it even with play, with curiosity. Now you start building that curiosity. That's why when I go do the things that I do, spending 60 days alone in Antarctica, doing 10 days in darkness, there's always an excitement, because I can't wait to see what is unearthed. Before going to Antarctica, people ask me, who do you want to be on the other side of it? And I said, or who will you be? And I said, I don't know. That's what I love, right? But that muscle was trained, and anybody can train it by putting yourself in circumstances that demand you to rise.
So in certain situations, like when Ollie has to go give a speech, or somebody has to go give a talk, or you have to go do, let's say, business-to-business sales and approach a business that you don't know if they're going to reject you and make you feel like a fool for going up to them or whatever. That feeling, if it's true that excitement and that feeling of anxiety, fear, they're all kind of in the same. Is it fair to say they're generally the same with a different frame, depending on the frame that you personally put on it?
Absolutely.
And if that's the case, is it fair to say that if you were to switch your frame, if somebody were to say, like, how you feeling right before you go up on stage, and you say, I'm excited, that would actually prepare you for more courage, as opposed to if you said, fucking scared, I'm nervous. Like,
it can be a bit of both, because once you develop a positive enough relationship to fear, then saying you're scared will be excitement. At first, because we have this negative relationship to the word fear.
Oh, so you got to change your relationship first.
So then you start developing such a positive relationship, like, yeah, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Awesome. Because you thrive on the fear.
Hell yeah, I'm scared.
Exactly.
Like that.
Exactly. So at first you can use I'm excited, and actually speak it out loud. In the book I talk about the neuroscience has shown when you label an emotion, it decreases activity in the limbic system in the animal brain and increases activity in the human brain. So essentially what it does is create a space between you and the emotion.
Give me an example of that.
So I'm feeling fear.
Yeah.
I'm feeling anxiety. So now I'm no longer a slave to it, because what happens mostly is we feel it and then we fall down this rabbit hole of what I call second dart syndrome. And what I mean by that is Buddha said we're all stabbed by the two darts of suffering. The first dart is the one we don't control. Somebody comes in this room with a gun, I feel fear. I don't choose that. That's a subconscious response to an external stimuli. The second dart is what we do with that. Now, most of the quote-unquote negative emotions, like fear and anxiety, people have them and then beat themselves up for having them. Like, I worked with this one client of mine who, every time he would sit on the computer to write, he would have severe anxiety, sweaty palms, and he would retreat and go watch Netflix. Now, everybody before he came to me was trying to get rid of the anxiety. And I said, we're not going to do that. Next time you sit on the computer, I just want you to pause and acknowledge it. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling anxious. suddenly the emotion, the physiological response dissipates because you're acknowledging it. Am I saying the anxiety goes away entirely? No, but you regain power to act in the face of that anxiety. So for the first time this happens, I just want you to write for 30 seconds. Don't go to Netflix just yet. Just write for 30 seconds. Now 2 minutes. Now 5 minutes. Then it becomes half an hour, and so on and so forth. And in time, that first dart of anxiety to the computer disappears. So you can use those second darts to change the first dart response in time, but acknowledging and accepting that you don't control the first dart is the key. And this is, if there's one thing you take from this, acceptance of isness is the key to freedom from all unnecessary suffering. I'll say this again.
Acceptance of what?
Acceptance of isness.
Isness. What's isness?
Isness is being with what is.
Okay.
Most of life is we cannot control. Acceptance of what is. So when I'm on expedition, for example, and I get soft snow when I'm in Antarctica or in the Arctic, it's very easy to say, I wish it wasn't this way. You saw this in the pandemic. I wish the gyms weren't closed. I wish, and separate from whether you believe or is irrelevant, this was a reality. And I remember seeing this. People, I lived in Jersey at the time. People would say, oh, I can't train now. I'm putting on weight. The gyms are closed. The parks are closed. So to show people you can still create your own reality, I ran 50 miles around a cul-de-sac. Just around 1,000+ loops around this little cul-de-sac. Wow. You can always do something, right? But the first step is accepting what is, especially when you fully understand that most of our life is beyond our control. Yeah. So when I'm on expedition, I'll say, thank you, God, for the perfect conditions, even if the snow is soft. I would much rather it be hard snow because then it's easier to drag my sled. But if I say, thank you, God, for the perfect conditions, they are perfect because they can't be anything other than what they already are.
Right.
Everything is perfect in its isness, including most of our internal response to stimuli, which we have no control over.
It may not be our preference, but it doesn't mean it isn't
exactly.
perfect.
Acceptance of isness is the foundation to then change your reality and create your own reality.
Wow. Okay. That was pretty cool, right? Shit. First off, I'm going to use the word isness a lot now.
Yeah, I say it a ton.
Like, somebody's doing like, I don't like this, dude. It's isness.
It's the isness.
Relax.
It is what is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's isness? What's isness? What are you, an idiot? Okay. Come on. All right. So be like, I bet you don't even know about the limbic brain either, huh? Okay. So let's. Anybody here afraid of heights? Anybody here? Or anybody know anybody afraid of heights? Cool. Perfect. I'm going to do this one for my wife. So my wife won't get on a roller coaster with me. Now, I'm not forcing her to get on a roller coaster with me because that's not my job. But if I were to force her in an encouraging, intelligent way,
yeah,
how could I gain her the courage to overcome the fear of heights? Is it overcomeable?
So first thing is the person, unfortunately, this might not be the answer you like, has to have the desire to confront that fear. You know, I've done this a lot when I speak. People will come up to me and say, oh, I'm scared of cats. How do I overcome it? I'm like, do you care? They're like, no.
Well, here was a conversation we just had the other night. She said, yeah, it sucks because like I watch other people go on these roller coasters and like I want to go on the roller coasters because it looks like it's fun, but then like I want to shit my pants. I don't know if she said that, but she says
some version. Got it.
I think she said that.
So if the desire is there, and there's like many people will do the different tricks in the brain. I like step one is you can train the muscle for that. So maybe don't go on the gnarliest roller coaster in the world, right? Start with, let's say, like for example, I used to be scared of Ferris wheels, let alone roller coaster. So start with the Ferris wheel, right? And then you build up I think the fundamental tool to face fear is the exposure therapy. You're kind of facing it. And there's many different people who do the brain hacks and all those things, but I think ultimately there's nothing like just facing it. But build up the ladder of risk. So do it in a small way. You know, I didn't spend 60 days alone in Antarctica the first time. I built up the ladder of risk.
When you say alone?
Alone. Like I was geographically the most isolated life form on the entire planet. There was no other life form for hundreds of miles for portions of the journey.
No camera guy?
No, I was completely alone.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Before we get into the why, which I definitely need to understand, I thought I was crazy because I put myself in a house in bear country just so I can make sure I get everything I need to write written in a week.
I love it.
And I was like, if I just get surrounded by bears,
I'm
not going anywhere. And so I did that.
That's awesome.
It's a whole different story. Antarctica sounds way scarier. Okay, so let's go into, you were alone for how many miles to the closest human being?
I mean, hundreds. Not even a human being life form, because most of Antarctica has no life. There's only penguins on the coast in one corner, but most has no life.
And you were driving, walking?
I was cross-country skiing with the sled that initially weighed 420 pounds. So dragging two sleds with 115 days worth of food, fuel, and supplies to survive out there.
Was there an engine on this sled?
Unfortunately not. I was essentially the dog, like people ask
How
me
did
the
it
dog
move?
sled. Me dragging it through with
You
cross-country skis.
drug a sled
It was unforgiving
for hundreds of miles?
for 500 miles.
500? That's like going to California and back.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I think, isn't it San Diego like 250 miles away?
Yeah, it's a bit of a ways.
You went to San Diego and back in Antarctica
Yeah.
with no other living, or maybe a penguin, and a sled that you drug through snow.
Through soft snow, through unrelenting soft snow.
How long did this take?
I was out there for 60 days. So what I was attempting to do was to do the world's first coast-to-coast ski crossing of Antarctica, dragging that sled for 115 days over 1,750 miles across the entire continent. This had not only been never done before, it had never been attempted. And most adventurers thinks it's impossible. People who planned the logistics for it said anyone who attempts this will probably fail. So this was the first attempt in history to even attempt this. And I can, after giving it a shot, I can safely say it is an impossible feat. But I ultimately got 500 miles over 60 days completely alone and pushed the body to the brink of death. I ended up getting diverticulitis, which is infection in the colon, that if left untreated will burst, get septic, and kill you.
What caused that?
It's caused from stress, and apparently I was under a
That's
bit
not
of it.
stressful.
I know, right?
All right.
For some reason, I guess
What
I was in
a
a bit of
wuss
stress.
you are.
I know.
Oh, stress. Such a millennial word. All right. So, I mean, 60 days, how many snow cones can you eat? Like, what did you eat for food?
I was eating about 5,700 calories a day. I had to put on fat before I went because I was going to lose
Where
weight.
did you what did you eat that didn't go bad? Well, I guess you're in a refrigerator.
Yeah, everything's cold. You never have to worry about that.
So what did you carry? What did you...
Breakfast was a Magic Spoon cereal mixed with milk powder. On the go, I was eating chocolates and nuts. One of my friends is a supplement formula designer, so he made a custom-made supplement for me for expedition.
So are people continuing to drop food to
No,
you?
I was choosing to do it unsupported, so there was no food drops.
So everything you left with
Exactly.
was what you used
And yeah, I was carrying everything I needed to survive out there
for 60 days.
for 115 days.
I eat Magic Spoon cereal, and I'm thinking, how much is 60? I mean, I probably also eat 3 servings per serving.
It's
'cause
really
you
good.
You can't have
It's
one
really
serving.
good,
Yeah,
exactly.
you can't have one serving. Okay, so I'm thinking, like, how many boxes? Well, you didn't put them in boxes. How did you even fit it? Did you just mash it up and put it in? Did you?
So
keep
I
it in
was so
cereal
weight
form?
conscious that
I've got
everything.
thousands of questions, by the way. This
Yeah,
is
no, happy to
crazy.
answer them. I love sharing the journey. I mean, I literally cut my toothbrush in half to save 5 grams. So my food I was putting in those, the grocery store bags you put your vegetables in?
Yeah.
They're the lightest bags possible. So they were lighter than Ziploc. So I would actually put it in that, tie the knot, and then cut the knot off, cut the top off to save a few more grams.
Yeah, but I put a sweet potato in there and it breaks. How is that?
I mean, if it was a little crushed, it is what it is. But thankfully the Magic Spoon cereal didn't get too crushed. The chips got crushed sometimes. Oh, I forgot. Jalapeno chips were my absolute favorite. They were like morale food out there.
Chips?
Jalapeno chips.
But that's salt.
Exactly.
Oh, you need the salt. You
Yeah.
need the electrolytes. But what?
Yeah.
Did you carry water?
I was boiling snow for water. So I carried...
Is that healthy? Snow?
The snow is pretty pure out there.
I guess.
There's
No, there's
nobody,
no
yeah.
fog. There's no pollution.
It's not like Everest where there's thousands of people. There's nobody. So it's
So
pure.
how many? What do you call a bushel of snow? How much snow do you gather?
I had a
to
little
make
kettle that I would
water?
put the snow in and boil it for water, and that would be what I would drink every day. So I would do that every night when I would set up my tent when I stopped skiing for the day, and then kind of take care of eat my food. I had freeze-dried dinner with butter powder mixed into it, and then try to sleep as much as possible, then get up the next day, break down my tent, and do it again. And in Antarctica, to give context too, most of the journey, there is no stimuli. So there's no mountains, there's no trees. It is like, think about staring into a white wall. That's what it is like for 10 plus hours a day of skiing. Every day looks the exact... The first day I saw a mountain in the distance was day 31. So 30 days, nothing but flat white nothingness.
Wow. The good news is the sun got a lot lighter every day.
It did get lighter every day. Yeah, it did get lighter every day.
So by the time you got like the last few days, what did you have in there?
It was still quite, even by the end of the journey, I still had the heaviest sled in Antarctica because what I was attempting, nobody had ever done an expedition that long. So I pulled the heaviest sled any man has ever pulled from that coast of Antarctica. So even by the end of it, I still had 55 days worth of food, which was still pretty heavy.
Now, what happened with the fingers?
So I lost these 2 fingers 4 years ago on my first expedition in Antarctica. I was on a training expedition in Antarctica, and with a group this time, not solo.
Oh,
And
so it wasn't the same trip.
it was a training trip, so different route.
Before the
different plan.
solo?
Yes.
You lost 2 fingers with people with you, and then you said, now I'm going to do it by myself?
Yes. When you put it that way, it sounds really stupid.
Oh, I mean, you did it.
No, I got frostbite on day 17. This is going to make it sound even worse, but so I actually got frostbite on these 2 fingers, and it was really bad looking. It was black up to here, and this finger, the right ring finger, it became a black hard nub, and it had to be surgically removed. The left middle finger actually recovered fully. It looked like a normal finger again. But once you get frostbite for the rest of your life, you're more prone to frostbite.
Yeah.
So I was on a training expedition up in the Arctic in Svalbard where it got to minus 38, minus 40 degrees, so very cold. And this finger would always get cold faster than the rest of my fingers. So I went to the doctor in the Arctic and said, I'm thinking about having the tip of this finger cut off. Like, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. And the doctor goes, yeah, you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, so don't cut it off. He's like, no, you shouldn't go back to Antarctica. You should stop doing cold weather trips. Like, you should just not stop. Yeah, exactly. You should just stop doing this. That to me wasn't an option. So I went to India where I live, where my family lives, where the doctor who cut this finger off. And I pleaded with him, and the doctor refused to do it. He was like, ethically, we can't do it. This is a good finger. And I had to plead with him, see 3 doctors. Finally, the thing that convinced him to cut it off was my mom's support. Because my mom was like, no, I need you to do it. But to me, it was a very small price to pay for the rewards I get on a solo expedition in Antarctica. And it was a liability that I couldn't afford. So it was to me, it was a very logical decision that there's no way I can go. Imagine I'm on 50 days in Antarctica, and this finger that is now for the rest of my life prone to frostbite gets frostbite. And the expedition's over because of something I could control. That's a risk that wasn't willing to take, and a finger is a very, very small price to pay for the results, for the rewards of that experience. And there's always a price to pay. You know this. There's always a price to pay.
What do you think of, I think you might have mentioned this in the book, or I might have maybe just translated in my head as like, okay, that's similar to this or similar to that. But one of the things you talked about are the different like mental illnesses that, like the amount of mental illnesses that exist today that didn't exist 50 years ago, 100 years ago, even though when you argue with like how we are, this is the safest the world has ever been. You have the most available to you, the most resources, the most medicine, everything. Yet we have the most mental illness than we've ever had. Depression, highest than it's ever been. So when you look at something like that, the other thing I thought about maybe it was a parallel, maybe you mentioned it, but imposter syndrome. Did you talk about it, or am I just kind of using it as a parallel?
I'm not sure if I mentioned that in the book in the context of this.
Because what I was thinking about was like, there's a lot of people, especially in business, that deal with imposter syndrome, right? Like you have people that want to open up a second location or a third location, or they need to hire a manager, but the business manager is actually very, very skilled, or they're going to come to an event like this and they're going to be around people that are doing, you know, maybe 2 or 3 times more revenue than they are. And that feeling of like, do I belong here? Or am I able to do that? Who am I to think I can open up a 3rd studio or 5th studio or whatever, 5th business? If you were to sit down with someone and really help them understand imposter syndrome and help them really like kind of maybe either change the label, give it a new frame, or help them learn how to overcome it, what would be either some questions you'd ask or some things that you would say?
Well, we could, if I was doing this with somebody, we would get into a little bit of the weeds of their own particular context and their scenario. But fundamentally, what I would do is to recognize that imposter syndrome is not inherently bad. It's actually a good thing if you view it. I want to be surrounded by people who are doing better than me. That's how I grow. And so if I'm in the room where I'm the dumbest person in the room, that's a good thing. So what I would work them, and I'm not saying they'll shift overnight, but attach your self-esteem to growth, not to being the best. And you shift that paradigm, then you fall in love with it. So I walk into this room, everybody's making more money than me. I feel imposter syndrome. Got it. I'm okay with it. I'm gonna learn to just be present with it. Coming back to the concept, acceptance of isness. It's uncomfortable, and I guarantee you. In fact, I just spoke at a room a few weeks ago, and they were like 8, 9 figure, like one extremely successful entrepreneurs. I'm like the dumbest entrepreneur in that room. You know, I do other silly things, so that's my skill set. And I loved it. But the founder of this event had everybody raise their hand, close your eyes. Who here feels imposter syndrome? And like 90% of the room raised their hand.
How about you guys? Ever? Anybody ever feel like that? Raise your hand if so. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's why I
first
asked it. I feel
it's just normalizing it, recognizing because look, it's a standard cognitive bias that we have. I think it's called a spotlight effect that we think everybody's thinking about us, they're all judging us, but everybody's got their own shit. They're all worrying about their own stuff. So just stepping even in Antarctica, I had moments thinking that, "Oh, what if I don't pull this off? People are going to think I'm weak and this that other thing." And then I was like, "You know what? I guarantee you most people at home right now thinking about their own problems, they don't
right.
really give a shit about you in Antarctica."
Nobody
And
notices your hair out of
exactly.
place because they're so worried that you're seeing their hair that's out of place.
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
just that alone frees it up and then normalizing it. Like I said, coming back to the core concept is not demonizing any emotion as bad or good. There are no bad or good emotions. They're only emotions, and it's up to me to decide what I do with them. So as the more, and now you can again, like anything, you train. I'm the dumbest guy in this room. Fucking awesome. This is how I'm going to get better. So you attach your self-esteem to growth, not to the result. And the more you do that, that's the paradox of winning. When you focus on winning, you're going to lose. When you focus on the process, you're going to win. So build a mindset that you are focusing on getting better, not having this. That we also operate from this world where we think once I get there, wherever there is, my life will be golden and there'll be no problems. You have $0 or $1 billion, you got problems. So I always like to say, progress is not the elimination of problems. Progress is the creation of new problems. So actually be looking for that next
like
problem.
that.
And when you have that next problem, on the other side of that is the next solution, the next opportunity, the next awakening. Fall in love with that process.
I love that. Progress is not the solution of your
Not
problems.
the elimination of problems.
Or not the
Progress is the
elimination.
creation of new problems.
Man, that's pretty cool. Okay. All right. So I want to dive into when it comes to fear, and you have, it sounds like what we're really wanting to do is like anything else, whether it's our intelligence, whether it's our physical strength, whether it's our emotional intelligence, whatever, you're looking to build up muscle. You're wanting to not say like, okay, how do I make that weight less so I can lift it? You're basically saying, how do I change my ability to lift that? Essentially what we're doing. How do I not make this less scary? How do I make myself braver or handle scary better?
Yeah,
Is that right?
absolutely.
So when you're working with some people that are obviously like you're probably working with some people like Dalai Lama, like as an example. What was his perspective on your perspective of fear that he felt so compelled to be able to like be a forward? Like what was it that do you have a conversation with him? I'm assuming it was a
No,
conversation.
so actually what happened with that, the way I got that was a pure cold pitch. So, I mean, this is a good mindset lesson, I think. When I wrote this book, I had zero brand, first book, no platform, nothing. And I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get this out there? And it was a very spiritual concept. So I thought, who's the leader in the spiritual world who could endorse this? I said, Dalai Lama. And then immediately I'm like, no way. Who am I? I'm a nobody. All that
Imposter
stuff.
syndrome.
Exactly. And then actually the first endorsement I got was Seth Godin. Once again, a cold pitch.
Now, did you know Seth?
No, cold pitch again. I shot a personal video for him. This was a great game-changing strategy, shooting personal videos for people, sharing who I am, what I've been through, what I'm trying to do with this mission, with this book. And Seth is an amazing human being. I loved his work. I aligned with him, why I aligned with him, and very kindly provided me an endorsement.
How did you send it to him? Like
Seth is
LinkedIn
actually
or-
unbelievably responsive.
But like
I don't know how he
what,
does it.
like
He's an
what
animal.
platform did you?
Just an email. And then I think back then I used, today there's a lot better technology. There's like Loom videos. I would use Loom today. I think I just created an unlisted YouTube video, sent him the link and said, Seth, I shot this personal video for you. Would you mind checking it out? And it was very short, but you know, and he checked it out. And
How many people did you do that to?
so I got unbelievable endorsements from that book. And I think,
You did.
I mean, Jack Canfield was a warmer connection. I had done a lot of his seminars and stuff, but almost all the other big names on there were through a cold, and people who I actually aligned with. These weren't just sort of random. Like I'd read their work, so I explained why their work had impacted me, and that's how I got it. But even with the Dalai Lama, when I got sets, and this is a good learning here. You know, you when you get a victory, it's important to actually acknowledge that victory and have it reshape your identity. Because all of a sudden now I realize, look, if I can get sets, why can't I get the Dalai Lama? Now I'm going to try. So I reached out to His Holiness's office, the form there, got me nowhere, did a lot of research, found an actual name of a person in the monastery. So a name and an email. Reached out to him. He connected me to 3 other monks. Finally got connected to him. He said, all right, we got your stuff. We'll review it. And I shot a personal video again. Few months in, no response. And the whole time, who am I? They might think my book is terrible. They're not going to respond. There's no way this is going to happen the entire time. But you can be with your thoughts, but not have to be defined by your thoughts. So I'd follow up anyway. You can take action in the face of a limiting belief. That's why I also don't like that paradigm, limiting beliefs. And then personal development world, they spend so much time with that. I always like to say, fuck your limiting beliefs. The belief is built on the battlefield. You go to war with yourself and you will change who you are. Action is the precursor to transformation of the inside mentality. So I followed up anyway. After 5 months of building a relationship with this monk, he reached out to me and he said, his exact words were, considering everything you've been through and your genuine desire to serve, I'll press your case. And I only asked for a one-line endorsement, but I was truly humbled. I got a letter in the mail from the Dalai Lama with the seal and the signature, and they wrote the foreword for the book, which was unreal.
That's pretty cool. Come on.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is relentless.
Thank you.
You know, it's interesting because like you hear stories like that, and I hope it's as encouraging for you guys as it is for me. Just like this, like you don't stop at 1, 2, 3. There was this guy that I worked with, Daniel Neary, very, very impressive guy. I started working with him back in like 2016, and he had one EMS studio. You guys know what EMS is? Yeah, it's like you wear the bodysuit and it plugs you in. It's electric muscle. Okay, so, and he was like, yeah, he's like these things are really big in Europe, like certain parts of Europe. It's like Starbucks. There's like one of these studios, everywhere. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let's see how we could do. So next thing you know, he's like, hey, Mike, just so you know, this is like maybe 3-4 months in. He goes, hey, just so you know, I'm going to be in a Netflix documentary, Pumping Iron 2 with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I go, this guy barely knows English. He just moved from Hungary a few years prior, started a business here, didn't know English or anything. And I'm like, how did you land a documentary? He's like, oh, I emailed, I messaged, I social media'd, I called, I did everything for like 4 or 5 months. And finally they said, yeah, we'll do it. And he was, I saw it. And then like 6 months later, he's like, hey, I got some really good news. Now keep in mind, we're talking a lot now because I find him so fascinating. We're becoming friends. He didn't bring up that he was working on it. He's like, hey, I got some really good news. I'm like, what? He's like, I got NASA to agree to use our technology to help their astronauts in preparation to colonize Mars.
No way.
I go, sorry, with your accent, Bertie, I don't know if I heard it right. Can you say that again, slower? And he said, I was like, that's what I thought you said.
That's badass.
How did you do that? He goes, well, I just checked because my wife asked me, and I sent 221 emails in the last 5 months, and they finally said it. So I don't have to send 222, which is really good because I was going to stop at that one. But I was like, oh my gosh. Now, here's a crazier thing. COVID happened. He was about to sell all 8 studios. And he didn't because he felt like he could actually like do something cooler. COVID happened, took him out. Took out all 8 studios.
Damn.
You know what he did during COVID? He hired a coach because he liked Pokemon Go. He hired a Pokemon Go coach. I didn't even know that was a niche.
Yeah.
And he became a champion in Pokemon Go. Is an influencer, has a whole channel, and now got a job in Seattle as their head of marketing for Pokemon Go. This guy's
That's
like loaded.
crazy.
He has more money now than he had when he had the studios.
That's crazy. That's
And
wild.
so I just think Daniel's a great example of like this kind of stuff. Like just going like, but what happens if I email them again? If they don't return the email, I'm in the same spot as if I didn't send the email.
Exactly.
And if I email them 200 more times, I'm in the same spot as if I didn't send them one email.
Exactly.
So why not just send them another email?
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so dang cool. He didn't really
love it.
care about that. So I thought that was great. Okay,
That's
last
awesome.
thing before we dive out, the word Fearvana. What is Fearvana? Why is that a word?
I define Fearvana as the bliss that results from engaging our fears to pursue our own worthy struggle. And what I refer to as your worthy struggle is your path, whatever your mission in life. And it's the idea that fear and nirvana, 2 seemingly contradictory ideas, are in fact complementary. And that fear is not the antithesis of nirvana, it's an access point to it. So the fundamental ethos is developing a positive relationship to fear and suffering and all the struggles of the human experience in order to transcend them and access and use them as an access point to bliss.
I love that. Man, this is such a great conversation. I feel like if I know these guys don't want to go get some food right now, because I know they do, I could talk to you forever. I'm glad you're in Arizona. I'd love to be able to get together with you and just
for sure,
chat a
man.
little bit.
For sure.
Man, this is great. Was this a pretty cool conversation? Yeah?
Thank you. Yeah.
So, did you just bring this one book? Just curious.
There's one more there.
One more?
Oh, okay, we gave that one to Brady. So
Is this one good to give away to a lucky
Absolutely,
person?
absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So
Should've brought
can I
more.
just do a pop quiz, one question? If they get it right, that person that gets it right first gets
Done,
the book?
yeah.
You guys ready? Pop quiz based on our conversation. What's my new favorite word? Is-ness. Who said that? There we go. Wait, make sure that's not my copy with the other one. No, it's not. It's not. Okay. Hey, I just want to thank you so much. This was a great conversation. This is something that I personally have had interest in over years and just really understanding and studying. There's this really great guy that actually knows you. I told him I was going to talk to you today. I think I don't know if he said he met you or he heard you speak. Is Michael Burnoff?
Oh,
you familiar?
Yeah.
And he said, man, great guy. Very, very smart. I love his perspective on stuff. He's local as well.
Yeah.
And so I just find this stuff fascinating. So I'm appreciative that somebody like you is able to articulate it. For those of you that get a chance, get this book. I mean, we'll get a chance. You all have a chance. Let's be real. It gets on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So go on Amazon. What was it, like $20?
Yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever it is,
Amazon
$20.
has sales, yeah.
$20 or stay scared for the rest of your life and hate it, right? Either way. It's a hard choice. But I would definitely pick up this book. I think it's good for a few different reasons. One, not only to help you with maybe any type of scenarios where fear could be getting in your way, but to me, it was just the ability. You had like the rider and the elephant. You had so many cool little analogies and things that made it easy to articulate to be able to help others, whether it's our kids, whether it's our employees, whether it's our members, whatever. I just feel like it's so great to have another way to say what we already maybe know or feel. And that just allows us to be better coaches, better people, better leaders. So, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate everything you did.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.